So, faith in action. Well, about 600 years or so before Jesus even came along, there was this prophet who God said, could you go north and tell the people up there that they're really not doing it right? So Amos got up, he was a shepherd and a tree trimmer of sycamore trees, which is pretty random, but this tree trimmer probably meant he was a smart guy, headed up to the north of the Holy Land and told the people up there that those rich people to stop exploiting the poor and to sort themselves out. And here's some pretty harsh words. He said, stop doing evil and start doing good, and that justice must roll down like a river, and some really cool quotes like that said that we must stop oppressing the poor and using them for our own servants and all that kind of exploitation that's so easy to do when you have wealth and other people don't. A few hundred years later along comes Jesus, who pretty much said the same thing, and hung out with those people that had been sort of kicked out of the mainstream society and said, hey, I'm actually here for these people. And it was a big message for everybody who was perhaps thinking they were a little more important than they should be. 2,000 years later, along comes a moderate bishop, and it's one of my favourite stories. This guy, Oscar, was in a troubled area in Latin America, and his best friend is killed in the Troubles, and he looks around and he realizes that he's been pretty blind to the plight of the poor, and he starts speaking up for the oppressed and those people down at the bottom end of society. This guy, Oscar, Archbishop he became, they thought, oh, he'll be good, he won't wake any waves. You know how the Catholic Church sometimes wants people to just, keep it nice. Boy, did he get crazy. And he started saying, this must stop. The poor are an important part of our society. We must let them vote. We must let them live properly. We must let them be, because at that time things were not good for them. This is in El Salvador. His message gets stronger and stronger because the military isn't listening, and he puts out a really strong call. Hey, you army guys, don't shoot my people because God said thou shalt not kill. And his message got even stronger, where he had this massive big sermon in the cathedral and said, stop the oppression. He said, I beg you, I implore you, I order you to stop the killing. And that was kind of the last straw for Oscar Romero. And the next day, saying mass for the nuns, he was shot dead during mass. The thing was, though, that as he said, his spirit would rise up in the Salvadoran people, and it's kept going. What I'm getting to here is that all of these people said that we must do things for the poor. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with being rich, that saying that, apparently Jesus said that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to go to heaven. Well, that sounds pretty random, what camel's going to get through the eye of the needle? But the eye of a needle was actually a gateway, a narrow gateway that you had to kind of step through, and it'd be really hard push to get your snorting, snuffling, misbehaving giant camel in through this little narrow gateway. But that was the eye of the needle. But Jesus was making a point that the camel's not going to go through that gateway, and the rich person can go to heaven, but it's what they do with their money that counts. And where I saw the action of that really coming to life was today, when I was chatting to someone who lives in a fairly well-to-do area. And it's just amazing. What she's done is matched up families in the well-to-do area with other families in our parish area that aren't so well off, or in fact are absolutely poor, and she's got their kids who are a little bit older, to pass on all their clothes, maybe a few toys, maybe a few educational things to these families, and she's matched them up family for family. She's just taken all the stuff and handed out, but she's actually matched up families, and that is like the miracle of the loaves and fishes, you know, that something small has become this incredible act of giving. And I think that's what we need to look at when we talk about our faith in action, is what are we actually doing with what we've got? And so it's fine to be wealthy, but what are you doing with that wealth? And what sort of person are you? Now, this person isn't even a member of our church, and yet she's doing the most Christian thing you could possibly imagine. And when my girls at school study, you know, the action of the Holy Spirit, I say to them, you don't have to just find a Catholic person or a Christian person who reflects the work of the Holy Spirit. It could be anybody who's putting that faith into action is showing their gift. And so if you look at what those gifts are, you can start thinking, what can I do? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. A few of the road rage people could listen to that one. There's all these gifts out there for us to give, and all these things that we can do to make our faith something active. And that might mean going out there and loving someone. How do you love them? Give them your old clothes. Give them cans of food. Give them the opportunity to make their lives better. Help them find a job. There are so many things that we can be doing, that our prayer life is just one part of our faith, because our action is what makes our faith come alive. Faith without any kind of action is dead. It's nothing. There's got to be something that goes with it. So right back from that first prophet Amos in the Old Testament, the message of Jesus Christ, the message of our modern day prophets, you could say, like Oscar Romero and his sacrifice, to our own little corner of the world here, the message over and over again is do the right thing for everybody, and be active and be faithful and have both those things going at the same time. I think if we can do that, then our faith has value. Yeah.